Hey guys, good morning or good afternoon or good night whenever you're watching this video. I wanted to do a review of the Anderson's 1608 with Humic DG fertilizer. This particular fertilizer is very good for centipede, and the reason why it caught my eye, and I'm sure a lot of you out there have maybe tried it, but if you haven't, check it out. It's really good stuff. It's a 1608 NPK values. The 16% nitrogen, 0% phosphorus, and 8% potassium. So let's go into why this is a great fertilizer to use for your centipede. The 16% nitrogen, 9.2% of that is made up of urea. So that is a kind of a quick release form of nitrogen. 4% of that 16%, so a quarter of that, is slow release nitrogen from methylene urea. So the methylene urea is a really kind of a high-end type of nitrogen. It's going to break down that methylene as kind of a coating on the urea. And whenever you get rainfall or irrigation, that coating is going to slowly dissolve and slowly release those nutrients to the grass. So the numbers, the 1608, those are really good numbers and really good ratios. You don't want, as I mentioned before, you don't want like a fertilizer for centipede that has a 30 plus nitrogen content on it. That's just a little bit too high for centipede. You want it to be in the mid-teen range or even 10, something low and slow. That's what centipede prefers. But since there is a good slow release component in this, I did like that. I wish the slow release was about half of the 16%, but that's a minor quibble. 4% is good, and it is a high-end form of nitrogen in the methylene urea. Some of the other ingredients that we'll review, 8% potassium. So that's a very good number of potassium. You want it to be at least probably 5% if you can. And it does have potassium sulfate is the type of potassium that this has, which is great. I mean, that's preferred over muriate. Muriate's not, I mean, it's still good stuff. It's just a little bit saltier and a little bit cheaper for the manufacturers to develop. So the sulfate, potassium sulfate, is a little bit higher end form of potassium. And what that potassium is going to do is just great for stress relief, the heat stress or the drought stress that your grass might have to endure. You want to load up your centipede with a good amount of potassium, especially going into the fall and winter. It needs to store up some of that potassium so it can fight off extreme temperatures that it's going to have in the winter. So that 8%, that's a really good number. 2% iron derived from ferric oxide. So whenever we get a fertilizer for centipede, we definitely want to have some iron in there if you can. A lot of the organics won't have iron, and those do a great job at fertilizing centipede as well. But since this is partially synthetic, it's great to have that iron in there for your color response. You're going to see a green response from that within, granted you get rainfall or you water in the fertilizer, you're going to get a green response from that probably in about 3 to 5 days after it gets rainfall. So that's another big positive of this stuff. The biggest positive, I would say, the reason why I like this stuff so much, and I really did like, first of all, we did this application in July, and now it's mid-August, so I've given it a good amount of time to give an honest review of this fertilizer, and it's done a really good job. I mean, I really enjoyed applying it. It's got a really small, one of the biggest reasons I like this stuff is the prill size is tiny. It's like they call it like a greens grade almost, because the prills are so small, you're going to get great coverage whenever it's spread. So the spreadability of it in the broadcast spreader is really good, and the amount of coverage you're going to get with that is incredible. So if you have a square yard of grass, a standard particle size, you might only get like 15 or 20 granules in that square yard. Let's just use that as a hypothetical. Well, with this stuff, since the particles are so small, you might get like 100 prills in that square yard, and you're going to get a lot of good benefits in that square yard. So the coverage is just so much better, more nutrients in that square yard. And another big positive of this stuff is the Humic DG that's in there. We've had a separate video talking about the benefits of humic acid, and this is great if you want to kill two birds with one stone. You don't have to apply a separate application of Humic DG. You can just have it in this one fertilizer. and there is 12% of the bag is Humic DG. So Anderson's has this technology that they solely own, where the particles dissolve into tiny little microparticles when irrigation or rainfall is given to the fertilizer. So what that's going to do is it breaks down into tiny little particles where it can get down into the root zone more quickly. And if you want to learn about the benefits of humic acid and what that does for your grass, I've got another video on that if you want to check that out. There's just countless benefits to using humic acid. But the main reason is just adding carbon to your soil, which plants love. It basically gives kind of a housing site for all these nutrients to be stored, and then the plant can use them as it needs them. And it also gives the fertilizer that you're laying down at the same time, this urea and this potassium, it's going to make it usable by the plant quicker. It just makes it, kind of enhances your fertilizer. So having that in there is a huge positive. And you know, I already supplement humic acid with probably like monthly applications throughout the growing season, but that's just another benefit to this Anderson's PGF. And the fact that we have 0% phosphorus, Anderson's also makes a PGF Complete, which is a great fertilizer. I actually use that. I've used that this year on my front yard, which is zoysia. But back here I have Centipede, and you don't want phosphorus with Centipede typically. It ties up the iron in the plant, and Centipede doesn't like phosphorus. So try to stay away from the PGF Complete version of this Anderson's product and just go with the phosphorus-free version, which is what I'm reviewing here, 1608. It also has a small percent of sulfur in the bag, so that sulfur, it helps, when they put sulfur in there, it really helps the processing of the nitrogen. And it also keeps your pH a little low, which is what Centipede prefers. It prefers a more acidic pH, and that sulfur, it's not gonna affect your pH and send it lower. It's just gonna keep it, you know, it's a nice maintenance rate of sulfur. This fertilizer does not have any more micronutrients in it, like boron or you know, magnesium or anything like that, like PGF Complete does. So that's a little bit of a disappointment, but that's just very minor. You know, it's not a big deal. Overall, I'm really happy with the application. I would probably give this product like an A-. You know, it's just a great fertilizer to use, and if you use this twice a year, 2, maybe 3 times a year, your Centipede's going to respond very well to that. And you remember, the key is not over fertilizing your Centipede. Just if you do 3 pounds per 1,000 of this product, that is a 0.48 pounds of nitrogen per application. So if you do 2 applications of this, that's right at a pound of nitrogen per 1,000 square feet, which is really where you want to be with Centipede grass. It likes it anywhere between half a pound and like a pound and a half per year. So keep that in mind. You only want to do about 2 or 3 applications of this stuff, and that'll give you the amount of nitrogen you need for the year. And but it's a great fertilizer. I'll link to it down in the description below if you're interested in buying some. Now, one of the negatives of this stuff, it is a little expensive. I mean, when you're looking at the amount of coverage that you get, the bag covers 5,000 square feet. So, you know, the smaller your yard, obviously the better value you're going to get with this. But, you know, back here, I've got a good 5,000 or 6,000 square feet, so I was able to use the entire bag for just one application. That's $35. So it can get a little bit expensive, but this is kind of a high-end product. You know, this is kind of a professional product that they brought to the DIY market. So if you want, you know, kind of the higher end stuff, you got to be willing to pay a little bit more. I mean, that's just the way the world works, right? So, but overall, a really great fertilizer, and it's a great choice for you guys out there if you want to try it. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time. Have a good one.